Recently, I released Digital Alice, a song and animated video about time, humanity, and life in the digital age, framed through my interpretation of the Alice in Wonderland story. The video kind of popped off, which is absolutely crazy, thank you for that. I got so much support and so many cool questions that I decided to follow it up with a sort of extra behind the scenes video. Here we will explore the themes behind the song, look at some of the animation and songwriting process, and I will of course yap about the inspirations and hopefully answer all of your questions. Before we go into it though, I'm going to be real with you for just a moment. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who watched and listened to the song, and to everyone who left kind comments and words of support and full-on lyric analysis write-ups under the video. You're all super amazing. This kind of response to my work is very new to me, so, bear with me, but I cannot put into words how motivating and encouraging this is. Digital Alice means so much to me, and creating it was a massive task, so thank you everyone for making it worth it, thank you for accepting it and resonating with it. Okay, corny whining over. Let's look at the making of I'll start with the many inspirations for the song and the video alike. Enjoy the footage of me modeling Alice in the background. So the way this song itself came about is actually pretty random. A lot of you don't know this, but I've been making music since like 2010, and getting flashbacked by random song titles in my head is quite a persistent thing with me. That's usually how I come up with songs. A title will appear in my brain and I intuitively know how that song needs to sound, if that makes sense. I can see the wrapper for the candy, but I have not made the candy itself yet. But the wrapper is there, so I know how the candy is supposed to taste like. That's basically the story here. So I was on the bus thinking of song titles for the project, and Digital Alice came to mind. So I instantly knew that I wanted it to sound kind of jazzy, bossa nova, like lounge inspired. I love these genres of music and I've been listening to them non-stop recently. Musically, it's like heavily inspired by the duo Capsule. I really look up to the producer of Capsule, Gesta Kanakata. He's a genuine sound design wizard and makes really like tasty sounding music, if you know what I mean. The genre of music I found especially inspiring during this journey is shibuya-kei, which was originally this pop and fashion subculture that pops up in Japan in the 90s. And the music that was created around this movement is this very interesting retrofuturistic kind of music with a lot of bossa nova motifs. It's very summery and colorful, but also very sophisticated in a way. It's almost something that you might hear at like a romanticized depiction of a Paris fashion show in the early 2000s. I made a short Spotify playlist with some of the songs that inspired this, and you can find it in the description. And, speaking of fashion, it actually plays a big role in this video as well. I'm not really a fashion person, like give me jeans and a t-shirt and I'll be happy as a clown, but I do really appreciate fashion, elegance, and aesthetics in general. And not to be like a cringe gamer or anything, but I recently played through all of the Style Savvy games on the Nintendo 3DS, and let me just tell you, they are just adorable. And what's even more impressive, they're timeless, really. Possibly because fashion is a circle that brings back past trends into the future, but also because the games are so freaking well designed, even beyond the outfits themselves. The music, the UI elements, the menus, just the air surrounding these games is so sophisticated, but not in a pretentious way. It oozes this like playful, unashamedly girly vibe. It's just a joy to look at. Overall, I think I have a good eye for aesthetic value, so this is why I wanted to curate the visual elements of the animation around this vibe specifically. So I took to Tumblr and Pinterest and I looked at a lot of Heisei retro content, which is another retro Japanese centered aesthetic. Go figure. Think glittery stationery with clovers and rainbows and music notes, fruit-shaped charms, patchwork, and gingham print. There's also a lot of like mid-2000s inspirations here that are more on the western side, like twee or the Paris girly style. In short, imagine girly stationery that you would find everywhere in like 2007. That's the vibe. Altogether, I just wanted to create this feeling of a scrapbook from your childhood that you forgot you made. Something warm, playful, and nostalgic. Okay, welcome to the yap portion of this video. I got to read so many wonderful comments from you all about how the song resonated with you. Many of you found the lyrics and the imagery relatable and comforting, and honestly, it's a huge achievement for me because it's exactly what I set out to do. Overall message of the song is simple. Touch grass. I'm kidding. The message is, and if you've already seen at the end of the video credits, there's still time. There's still time not only to find yourself, to figure out who you are, to find your purpose, but also to potentially find out that you might not do any of those things that I just mentioned. And stay with me here for a moment because this is in no way me being a doomer. Quite on the contrary, actually. So life is crazy, right? It's confusing, it's complicated, it's random, and it's chaotic. We can get lucky in life, we can end up miserable. Things happen all the time, for no reason, and that is terrifying. We are haunted our whole lives by thoughts about all the things we need to do before, well, perishing, you know? About how we're not doing enough with life that we're given. We're not being grateful enough, productive enough, successful enough. We get stuck in this loop where we think since we only live once, that means we have to make it count and push ourselves to the limit. And if we fail, we lose time. And if we lose time, we lose our worth. So for one reason or another, all of us end up in this race against time. And after musing on this for years, I think the best thing I found that I personally can do to live a life that is worth living is to accept that time is uncontrollable. Life is going to continue being chaotic and unpredictable. And all I can do is to learn to love it in its ugliest shapes. If the nature of being human is to ask questions, perhaps I should also learn that these questions might end up unanswered. So yeah, we might do a lot in life, or we might not. We might find our purpose, we might not. Time might help us out, or it might pass us by entirely, but it should not dictate whether we'll live a good life or not. We can calculate and calibrate forever, we can try and catch up with the clock forever, but if we don't learn to cherish what we have now, ironically, I don't think we will ever grow or evolve. With this song, I'm not saying that we should stay stagnant forever and forget self-betterment. No, it's the opposite. I think accepting chaos is the first step to becoming someone better. If life is a puzzle that isn't meant to be solved, why not focus on the beauty of the mundane instead? Why not focus on being authentic? If there's a possibility that I will end my life as clueless as I had begun it, what can I focus on instead? And that's the question I think we should ask ourselves. If you want to see a deeper breakdown of the lyrics themselves, feel free to check out the lyrics on Genius. The link for that is in the description. So, to continue the previous section, the big question is, what does Alice in Wonderland have to do with it all? Alice to me is a wonderful character. She's open-minded, inquisitive, kind, and always willing to learn and embrace joy and fantasy. Her journey in the books resonated with the idea for the song in my head, so I just intuitively felt like she'd be a great representation of the song's message. To me, Alice is an extremely, bear with me, Socratic character, to be a little bit pretentious. To me, she embodies his way of thinking, that true wisdom is in knowing that you know nothing. And honestly, what a freaking G. Socrates, my man, love this guy. Alice almost transcends being a character and becomes an archetype of sorts here, at least for me. So in the song and the video, I presented a version of Alice who is coming to terms with this, coming to terms with not knowing and ultimately finding peace in that. Her journey starts in a very mundane place, walking in the rain. I just could not think of anything more mundane than a random rainy Tuesday, you know? Sun comes out and she wistfully looks at all the strange patchwork flowers in her palms, studying them like toy marbles. You can see that she's kind of fed up, she's tired, she's thinking way too much, and then the white rabbit appears, reminding her of the passage of time and that it is running out fast. So she's frantic now, right? She reads hundreds of books, studies nature, tries to figure out the rules of the world, rules of life, rules of humanity. She's swept up in this kaleidoscope almost. You can tell the cogs in her mind are turning because the rhythm is picking up and the cuts are quicker and shots don't linger on one thing for too long. And you can see her fail again and again. Attempts to figure life out are futile. Alice then has this introspective moment. She wonders who she really is, what she's like, what is her purpose. The clock is ticking, but she still doesn't have all the answers, even about her own identity. So now what? Now she's sleepless, she's restless, she feels like an anomaly, but she doesn't realize that this feeling is the most human thing she'll ever experience. Her mind is stuck in an anxious loop, and she wonders if she will live out the rest of her life not knowing the answers. And that is scary. Chasing the white rabbit to me always represented curiosity, which is a trait I think is extremely underappreciated, and a trait we should really nourish in ourselves. Despite everything, Alice is still curious, and she keeps wanting to learn about life. As they run, they venture through humanity itself, and I wanted this sudden addition of real-life recordings of humans just existing in the background to be a reminder of what matters most at the end of the day: being human. Arriving at the rabbit hole is like arriving at your breakthrough. Alice isn't rushing to jump, she's scared. Because this is the moment when you have to dare to shed your ego and accept not knowing. And as all the worries and time creep up on her, she takes the plunge, takes the chance, and accepts chaos. We often use the saying of going down the rabbit hole to mean diving deep into something unexplored, and here Alice dives deep in something that she cannot predict, cannot map out or rationalize. She cannot see where the bottom is, and if there even is one, and that, to me, is life itself. The life that Alice, and by extension us, try to explain and rationalize cannot be structured that easily. So Alice accepts it as it is. And when she wakes up a new person. And she now has her key, her solution. The solution to her question is that there's no solution. There is no answer, and yet there is still time to enjoy a life without it. So, yeah, touch grass. Okay, so let's talk about the character designs a little bit. You've seen all the recordings of me actually making this model, but now I kind of thought that I might walk you through just kind of my thought process behind the design itself and how the model works. And the design of Alice is pretty straightforward. Yeah, the image of a blonde girl in a blue dress is a very widespread interpretation of Alice in Wonderland, and I didn't really feel like moving away from that. I didn't feel like, oh, I want to be original and I want my Alice to stand out from the rest. I wanted my version of her to be recognizable in a way that you look at this and you straight away understand that, oh, this is Alice, you know? But yeah, I went for a simple design as well because my characters are usually pretty simple shaped, to be honest, and I try to keep the color palette pretty limited. I'm not really one to create characters who are super complex looking, and I just get kind of overwhelmed by too many details. And yeah, I just try to keep them simple. I like it when they're simple. I like to pay more attention to shapes, and that's actually one of the things about her design that is really important to me. So the first thing is this Rinka Gamine headband. If you know, you know. I really wanted it to serve as kind of a callback to the White Rabbit, so I made her bow like super long to imitate bunny ears. And even in the rig, let me show you. I rigged her headband so I could move it, angle it if I want to, kind of like bunny ears almost, you know what I mean? And the second detail that actually was really important to me, not as much about shape but about color actually, is the the neon red rain boots, which I think are kind of a major detail that makes this Alice stand out from the other possible Alices. This was actually completely incidental. I have this little figurine on my desk from a Pop Mart box I got ages ago, and I'm not really a mystery box kind of person, but Nyora's work really clicked with me. I just kind of really like this childlike charm and whimsy, and it reminded me of like I don't know, like a storybook that you could read, that you would read as a kid. And it made me feel very warm and comfy. So I just went like, yeah, fine. This was like my first, I think, mystery box ever. And I was like, if I'm gonna buy something from Pop Mart, it better be something that I really like. And yeah, it has these like stark scarlet boots. And I just love the way that the color contrasts with the blue dress and the blonde hair, and they also kind of look like rain boots, which is how I got the idea for this main shot of Alice walking with her umbrella. I also have this figurine of Astro Boy on my desk, and I absolutely adore this fella, and I love his fuck-ass boots. I just don't know what to tell you. That's Alice. Her rig is pretty simple as well. You know, if you've seen my videos on... I'm gonna blind you for a second. If you've seen my videos on, like, making models, I'm not gonna really show you anything new here. But if you haven't seen them, by the way, and if you're interested in making something similar or, like, learning how to make low poly style models, you can check out that series of videos. Bear in mind that it's my first ever attempt at making a long form commentary video, so it is pretty cringy, but who cares? Yeah, her hair is... it was a lot of work, man. It was a lot of work. As always, you know, all the individual strands are rigged separately so that I can do something like this. Whoa! How crazy is that? Very bouncy. If you know me and you've seen my videos and know that I like this a lot, okay? I'm a simple person with simple desires. I just want my characters to be very flowy, like just pleasing to look at when they are animated. That's Alice. Something else that you don't really see that much in the video is that I modeled a whole freaking like bow tie on her back, and I rigged it, see? But you never see it, so what was the point? What was the freaking point? That's Alice. Now let's look at the hair, shall we? There he is, that's the boy. The design for the white rabbit is also quite simple. It's mainly inspired by a couple of references I found on Pinterest. I was going for kind of a plush toy kind of look for this guy. And, you know, I also gave him huge glasses to contrast his otherwise tiny features because, I don't know, man, it just makes him very cute. Makes him very cute, like he's barely balancing glasses on his nose, you know what I mean? It's actually the first time I modeled an animal type of character. I think I did pretty well. And I also realized that I made a freaking blinking animation and I never used them. I never used this animation in the... I completely forgot that I did this, and I have not once actually animated it in the video, so there you go, lost media. Sorry, Stacy, lost media. Now you know. Now you know that the rabbit can blink. So what else can I show you when it comes to models? I mean, I can show you just all the assets, really. I can show you all the assets that I modeled. Well, most of them at least. This is not all of them. So, for example, this is the stuff that I kind of modeled and textured myself. There's quite a few objects in the video that I got from Sketchfab and stuff like that, and then I kind of modified them afterwards. This is the stuff that I made myself, modeled and textured, and oh my god, it took freaking ages, dude. It took ages, which is probably why I kind of gave up halfway through and just went like, nah, what is the point? But yeah, like I was going for this kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, like a very yummy vibe, you know what I mean? I wanted a yummy vibe. So we got a lot of food, we got like tea that is blue inexplicably for some reason, you know, like you just make those choices that make things look a bit more appealing and well, appetizing in this case, you know? Because you can see a lot of effort went into texturing this stuff. Like the strawberries, the freaking key, dude, took ages. This took ages, and it only appears at the very end. There's the playing cards that you kind of recognize because of the dithering and the texture. Very appetizing flask, mysterious flask of something. Here's the watch that also took freaking ages, and yeah, it's also rigged. This watch, so I rigged it in a way you can close it, you can open it, and then you can move this, we got the umbrella, which also has a shape key that closes it. But I didn't realize that when you like deform the umbrella to make it look closed, the texture deforms like hell. Realistically, if you close an umbrella, it would probably be like here, like it would close all the way down here. But see what it happens when I do it all the way down there, like just the texture very ugly and stretched. But anyway, I didn't really use that animation either because it looks like ass. This took a lot of time, and to be honest, you cannot even see the detail on here because it's yet again dithered and pixelated. But this took ages drawing this, and obviously here we have all the most of the motion graphic design stuff that I was using in the video. So like all the circles and the flat shapes that happen in the background. I didn't use Adobe like After Effects or anything like that. I didn't use any motion graphic software. I animated everything by hand in here using, just transformation, movement. So I made this sheet of a bunch of different shapes, and then I kind of split them into separate circles. I can just kind of mix and match them and just load whatever I want into whatever scene I want and use it there. The clock that I used a lot as well in a lot of scenes. I'll show you the scenes themselves later, and kind of I will show you how I set everything up. I can show you the texture of the assets. As you can see, God, there's just so much going on. There's just so much. I used a lot of photo bashing for the fruits especially, and then for the food, there's a lot of photo bashing there. But otherwise, other than that, I kind of did everything by hand, really. I decided to just kind of go straight into the animating section of this video, which is going to be probably long and very kind of... There's gonna be a lot of yapping. This is not scripted or anything. I'm just clicking on files and showing you how they look. But yeah, not scripted, so I'm gonna be... I don't know, I'm gonna be all over the place, I think. I don't really follow any techniques or rules. I just do whatever feels right. And that kind of stuff is a bit difficult to explain sometimes, but I'll try my best. So yeah, gosh, where do I even start with the music video itself? It took me about a month and a half working on it, and that's like 9 till 5, Monday till Friday. This is the closest I'll ever get to full-time employment, I swear. I was taking a long break from my job, so I could afford to put a lot of time and effort into this. Otherwise, it probably would take me, I don't know, 3 months at least. So, I don't know, I decided to start with the scene of Alice walking because for me, this was the first scene that popped into my head when I was thinking of making this video. I'm gonna break your illusion. This is how it actually looks like. This is how it's set up. The camera is right here. Camera is set to orthographic type. If I switch it to perspective, it's gonna break the immersion a lot because, it's gonna look at everything as in like a 3D perspective space. If you change it to orthographic, it's like an isometric view, so everything is flat. And if I move Alice like forward or backward, her size does not change, right? If I switch it to perspective, see what I mean? This is like a 3D space. So I used a lot of orthographic in this video because of the constant, those motion graphic elements that are constantly present. I just want everything to look like it's laid on a flat surface, almost like a 2D surface, to mimic what you would maybe do in Adobe After Effects. You want to look at how the animation looks like? It looks like this. It looks like a freaking mess, dude. If you want to learn how to do walking cycles, for the love of God, do not learn from this video. Learn from a good YouTube tutorial. There's loads of them for Blender and just for animation itself, just 2D animation really. Because I use this one very popular scheme that someone drew, and I just found this on Google. I just use this as a reference picture every single time I animate walking cycle. And this is how she looks from the front. And as you can see, her eyes are very wonky from the front, but from the side, they are not. You know why? Because Yet again, everything's an illusion. If I can give you one tidbit of knowledge, of wisdom, animating in Blender is mostly lying to the viewer. It's just like simulating stuff, making illusions happen, faking a lot of things, because you can do a lot of things, well, quote unquote, the wrong way, but if it works, it freaking works. Oh, and another thing that I guess I should talk about is the kind of the fake mist effect that you can kind of see on the finished result here. So if I go to shading, it's actually this fake mist. So this is from a pack that I bought, like an effects pack called Drips PSX EFX. I'll put a link in the description. It's really worth it if you want a lot of like cool PS1 style effects that are yet again like fake, you know, like someone has made a bunch of these for you and you could just buy it and use it. So that's the fake mist. You can play around with it. You can change where it starts, kind of. You can make it super deep. You can make it very light like I did. This is another scene where there's a lot of fake stuff going on. Yet again, the camera is an orthographic view, so everything's flat, everything looks flat. Could have done it in like post-production, but I wanted everything to be on beat and I wanted everything to be kind of going through the same compositing that I use in Blender. And I guess I should talk about the compositing a little bit actually. Yeah, as you can tell, not a lot of compositing here. You can copy and paste it if you want. Pixelation effect that I use literally on every single render. This is how you make the edges, everything a little bit like ragged, but you can't really see it on here, but you'll see it on the render. But this thing is a new effect that I started using considerably recently, I guess, but I'm using it on every single render again now because I just like the depth of color it creates, and it just like, I don't know, it's very random and you can play around with it a lot as well, and I really like it. Basically, it dithers everything that you see on screen, like every single thing. And this is why I put everything in Blender and not in post-production, because this dithers everything. So the circles are dithered, the animations of the clouds are dithered. God, I hate saying the word dithered because I know I'm mispronouncing it because it's a difficult word to pronounce, okay? But yeah, basically what it does is it creates this kind of very pixelated band everywhere where there's like a gradient of one color going into the next one. Like here, for example, you can see without the dithering, the colors are just like separate, right? But with it, it kind of blends them, but not gradually. It blends them in a pixelated fashion. Yet again, if you're interested, this is Drips PSX EFX. Really recommend you to support the creator of this pack because they are extremely kind to create a pack of so many amazing effects. Okay, so this is the scene where she sits under the tree, and this one, I don't know why, my computer freaking hates this scene, dude. It hates it. Because look what happens when I try to play it in Blender. It drops... it drops the frames to freaking 6 frames per second, dude. I guess I should talk about just a lot of these kind of almost cut out PNGs that I use a lot in this video. The PNGs themselves, they are 2D, right? But Alice is 3D. So for example, these flowers, they don't look like they're supposed to be here. It's like they're from a different video almost. They're from a different piece of media. And for me, that kind of evokes this feeling of a collage, like a patchwork collage. And you can see there's a lot of patchwork even on the flowers themselves. They almost look like they're taped together, or like it's like arts and crafts type of thing, or they're made of fabric and buttons and all that stuff. I feel like it adds a lot to this childlike, not childish, but childlike, whimsical toy box kind of feeling. It's almost like, I don't know, I took a couple of magazines or books and I took a pair of scissors, I cropped out these flowers and I put them and I plopped them down here. And where I found those, honestly, Tumblr, literally the best for finding like transparent pictures of aesthetic value. There's like a big scene of people creating their own websites, really looking after archiving a lot of like retro aesthetic transparent clip art, and they create their own clip art too. And usually, you know, they will put like in the description that it's free to use and whatever. People use them for websites, to create websites, but a smart person like moi will see it and go like, huh, I can use this for a music video. But yeah, I basically parented everything to this huge box so I can kind of rotate. Oh my god, what is that? The next scene I'm gonna show you is the beginning of the chorus. Camera switching from this one to this one, so kind of they both rotate. But I mostly wanted to show you this to show you the pile of books, really, because there's a lot going on here. I got them from Sketchfab. I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna put a link to all the assets that I used. I still went and edited the textures myself. I put my usual dithering on them. So yeah, there's that. Also, I wanted to show you a little goof that I actually left in the video, the final video, and I only realized it after I posted the video, and I hate myself now. But if you look very closely, the glasses are not parented to her face. So she moves her face, but her glasses are not moving with it. And it pisses me off that I completely overlooked this. I don't know how it happened. I don't know how it happened. It went through so many edits and I still missed this. So you can spot this in the video, and I don't know, just go in the video and comment the glasses incident of 2026 or something like that. But yeah, basically all that I needed to do, parent the glasses to bone, and here we are. Now they move like they need to do. Like they need to move. Oh god, how do I freaking even explain this to you? Jeez Louise. There's a lot happening in the scene where there's a bunch of cards that come up. The only way I can explain it is if you look here, you'll see that a lot of those planes, their render status itself, I animated all the time so that you only see the plane that you want to see for that period of time. So for example, you can see that there's 3 planes. Whichever card comes up, that plane is the one that's visible in the render. And then after the next card starts coming up, you can see that the plane in front of it switched from being invisible to visible. So you can't see this in actual Blender. You have to check in the render because that's the only way it's going to be visible to change. Alice popping up in the 3 kind of windows, I guess, here. Transparent window, and I posed Alice as if she's poking through those windows. And then I rendered it separately, and then I just kind of stitched them together in post-production. I'm not gonna be able to explain what's happening here. So I'm not gonna. Honestly, you know what? I'm not gonna explain anything. You can just see how it works on here. And understand that it's going to be very difficult for me to explain. Oh my god, animating this motion was actually so difficult. Because, like, I haven't really mentioned this, I don't think, on the channel. But I'm not actually an animator. I don't have, like, a background in animation, so a lot of animation for me is very trial and error. Trying to just intuitively figure out where body parts go and how they would react to outside motion. You know what I mean? I'm not really the person to explain this kind of stuff. I'm sure there are wonderful teachers on YouTube that you could learn from. This also shows you that if you think hard enough and try hard enough, you can do a lot of things without actually being professional. The thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that this part of the chorus is shot in a bunch of layers. It's rendered in layers. So this is a transparent layer, a transparent video completely, because I just knew that it will be practically impossible for me to create what I wanted to create for this part of the chorus without it being in layers. This is the file with all the backgrounds. So you can see, yeah, there we go. Someone has to know this in the comments. Someone has to. I lived in America for a couple of months when I was a very young kid, and I remember eating this kind of candy. It was like a tin box, and it had 3 stripes on the packaging, like 3 colored stripes, and when you open the 3 stripes lined up, it was like stripy candy that you kind of filed out of the box. You know, it was separated into 3 colors, 3 fruity flavors. I ate it once when I was a kid, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was a candy, but it was kind of like almost like a gum texture. Something about that candy cemented itself in my brain, and I just cannot stop thinking about it. So this this entire portion was actually inspired by that one random memory I have. 3 stripes, 3 flavors of fruits. Yet again, there's a lot of planes involved. There's always planes with me. I love my planes. I love my PNGs. And yeah, and the 3 Alices, yet again, just like always, they all stand next to each other, but due to my favorite orthographic magic, it looks like it's something separate completely. You know what I mean? This is probably my favorite shot in the whole video in regards to how I set it up. It just looks hilarious when you know how it actually works. Because what is going on? Because frankly, what is going on here? What are those, Alice? But yet again, this is what I mean by saying you trick people. You trick people into believing you. And you think that the camera is, you know, somewhere below Alice and she has this perspective look. Little do you know, yet again, it's orthographic. If it was perspective, this is how it would look like. And it looks like ass, doesn't it? You have to go into a scene with an idea in your mind, and you have to accept that you probably don't know how to make it work the way you want it to work. You just have to fuck around and find out, honestly. That's my approach to animating in Blender. Obviously, there's this final scene in the chorus. Oh, God. God, this took so long because I knew I wanted there to be a lot of like very kind of intricate motion happening on the background, but I also knew that I couldn't do orthographic here because the flatness does not work here at all. I needed the perspective. I think what I did is, well, first obviously I just animated Alice herself, and the motion that Alice does is, you know, very simple in and of itself. She just kind of unfolds herself. The heavy lifting is done by the camera, which is spinning around Alice, so it kind of looks like Alice herself is spinning, but she's not actually. So it looks like she's kind of like... I stopped on this frame and I just started to add all those circles and all the, you know, the vector graphics in the background. This is the final position. And then I keyed all of them into this position, and then I went back to like here or something, and then I just I did a lot of like manual sizing and rotating and everything like that. At first, you can see here, if you look at the scale is 0, so it's practically invisible. And then they just kind of reach the final destination, I guess is what you can call it. The final destination of their animation path. I knew that this was going to be the thumbnail. You know, YouTube thumbnails are very important, so you gotta make it count. I'm gonna show you the scene that is most difficult to load and actually look through because there's so many objects. My Blender just starts to absolutely shit itself. Of course, the fourth wall does not exist. I'm breaking it live on camera because the camera has to look through somewhere, right? So this is probably my favorite scene that I made for the whole video, just because it was extremely like meditative to create a room. Making like low poly rooms is probably one of my favorite things to do. I very rarely get to do it because there's nothing really in my work that requires making low poly rooms. Yeah, so there's that. There's also something that you don't really see on the camera, but Alice actually has a froggy chair. So now you know. I'll say most of the miscellaneous assets for this room are also from Sketchfab, and the main reason why I got a bunch of things from Sketchfab is because honestly, like, if I were to make every single thing in this room, every single asset in this room myself, instead of 2 days, it would have taken me like 2 weeks. I fear it's just a lot of work, and I needed the freaking video done. More planes, you know me and my planes. Then of course the running portion, it's on a transparent background. Yeah, there's nothing to see here really, just like a looping motion. The meat of the scene for me is in the actual background, I would say. This is it. This is basically all the background that there was in the running section. The camera slowly moving across in, again, orthographic view. So I actually had to change the size of the buildings that are further away to make them look as if they're smaller. There's also that part where there's a bunch of like real camera footage in the background. All I did is this world color. It's usually white, and then I just put it all the way to black. And that's it. You got silhouettes. The most difficult composition that I made is obviously the one where Alice falls down the rabbit hole. And if you want to see how the rabbit hole looks, there you go. It's a tube. The rabbit hole is not a hole, it's a tube. Where the character is being put, like the setting is very abstract. It's not like a scene, it's not a room, it's not like a street with buildings. It's like I have to make it look realistic enough that you believe that she's falling through this abstract space, you know? But I also have to make it look psychedelic enough. So what I did is I created this huge tube, and if I look inside, you can see that the top, like the ceiling in the tube, is a different material, just like a glowing white material, and the strength of the emission is very, very intense, so that it kind of looks like the entrance to the hole. And then inside of this tube, there's two more tubes. The first one is this, the checkered texture, right? The second one is this one. It's this mist, right? This is how the mist looks like. Then the next one is this one. It's like just a bunch of diamonds, just red diamonds. Oh, this looks trippy. Wait a moment. Whoa, this looks trippy. And the last one is these cards, and I was trying for the longest time to figure out how to create this spiral out of cards. There's 4 different cards that go in succession, you know. I used an array and I used a curve modifier. I just made the cards follow the curve, but I don't know if I made it the right way. I don't know how it just genuinely took me like a very long time to figure this out. I know I didn't do it correctly because the end of the spiral just points into oblivion, as you can see here. So I know that I did something wrong, but if it works, it works. I'm like showing you, I'm bearing my soul for you here. The thing that I do to kind of create this illusion of her falling, because Alice, if you look at her now, like Alice herself is not moving. She's staying in one position. Like the model isn't like moving down. It's the stuff around her that's moving upwards. So, and I'm also using like a lot of this twisting animation. So there we go. And then, yeah, like the lighting changes a lot. So I change like the color of the world. There's also a couple of lights inside of the tube as well. The most difficult shot, the whole video, is this one. Is where Alice does this animation of like a very dynamic kind of animation of falling, twisting, and all of that jazz. Like I said, I'm not an animator, so like when I make something and it works and it looks natural, it feels like, oh, thank God it worked out. Like it feels like a huge accomplishment to me. But yeah, like this is how the animation looks like. She's not really moving that much. The camera does a lot of heavy lifting yet again, but I have to do like a lot of this kind of like flowy motion. She's staying in this position for like a long time, just kind of gearing up to push herself out of that. And I really wanted this kind of change in her emotion here a bit, because when she first starts falling through the hole, she looks like very shocked, and then she actually smiles because this is the moment where she kind of accepts the chaos. And I wanted this moment to be like, she's feeling joy, you know, like she's not falling without purpose anymore. She's actually willingly diving, and she looks at the camera here, and it was an important moment for me to kind of make sure it looks right, because I just wanted her to kind of like follow the camera with her eyes, just almost be like beckoning, like, hey, come with me, you know? I love this shot so much. It's just so like ethereal, completely unknown. It's just completely unknown. You don't know what's awaiting you. But Alice is actually getting pretty close to the hole itself here. As you can see, super close. To blind you for a moment, this hole is also like a missive, so I didn't need to do a lot of like lighting on this scene. But yeah, this is the blender part. I'm gonna move on now and show you how I did the song, how I actually composed it, how I arranged it, and yeah. welcome to my Ableton, which is my DAW, my program where I create my music. So I have to preface this by saying that this version of the song is unmixed. It's an old version of the song. I'm showing you this one just because I kind of want to show you exactly how I like write melodies and stuff. I write everything in MIDI. When I start mixing the song, I flatten everything into audio. So in the mixed version, you can't actually see the notes, basically is what I'm trying to say. So if it sounds muddy or kind of flat, we'll just ignore it for now, I guess. So this is going to be less interesting to some people and more interesting to others. I never really touched on my music process on this channel or online at all. This is the first time I'm actually showing how I make a song. A lot of producer terminology incoming, just letting you know. So making a song is usually where everything kind of begins for me. So the song comes first and then the ideas for the visuals kind of pop up naturally. I guess I'm gonna show you my drums. Because to be honest, this is where the idea for the song started at all. It was the first kind of drum loop. Basically how the song came to my mind. This was back in January. I was sitting in the sofa eating breakfast and I just had this kind of loop in my head and I was like, shit, this sounds really good. This sounds like a banger. I need to go to Ableton and recreate it. So that's how it started. But originally this loop sounds like this. You can see here, I chopped it up, I rearranged it into this. I wanted this kind of like old recording of drums. All the loops that I ever use are from this particular collection of old CD-ROMs, sample discs, you know. I really enjoy old video game music and a lot of those producers used these CD-ROMs, these sample discs. I want to recreate that feeling, that old, not old, but like it kind of a retro feeling, you know. Whenever I want like a sample of some sort, I will go here and I will scroll through the millions of discs. Internet Archive has done great work in preserving this, so I really recommend you checking this out. Whenever I do drums, if I use samples for drums, I will usually try to kind of overlay multiple samples on it. I just keep like layering up more and more different loops. And then I also layer this hat loop. This is where the big guns come in, like the big kick. So you see the difference. This is without the kick. This is with the kick. So I just wanted like that extra punchiness. And also it's good to have a kick on a separate track because then you can mix it separately as well. What else is there? There's also this loop layered up. And then of course you need to have your bongos. You need to have bongos in your songs. And there's also these two little fill loops that I use. And of course there's cymbals as well. Here you can see a lot of like crashes and rides, and there's a ride that comes in the chorus. You need something to signal subconsciously to your brain that this is the chorus. This is where the juice is, you know? And for me, that's usually a ride. Just like a ride. Like, repeats. I don't know, for me, like, my monkey brain just goes like, oh yes, this is the chorus, because there's a bit of this, like, high-end, like, shaking in the background somewhere. Let me just, like, solo the drums for this, actually, because there's a lot here going on. I did sit here for, like, a good moment, kind of composing this part. You know, I'm really proud of this because I'm not really a drummer. Like, I played drums very briefly, I would say for like maybe 5 months when I was in university. But I'm not really a drummer, I don't know any theory. So when I was writing this, I was kind of like, I had to put myself in the headspace of a drummer and just pretend that I know how a drummer would play a solo. You know what I mean? This is how much effort I put into drums. I really like drums. I think drums are probably the most important part of a song, for me at least. I put a lot of effort into creating a good beat, creating a good rhythm. Okay, I'm gonna move on to bass. Bass is super simple. So for the entirety of the song, I think mostly I use this one synth, which is called Xenology. It's by Roland. It's a collection of a bunch of Roland synth collections or just patches or whatever, but mostly just like a bunch of MIDI sounds that try to recreate real instruments. And I don't know about you, but I am a huge enjoyer of like fake sounding instruments, you know, like MIDI instruments. I'm a huge enjoyer of like old school kind of instruments. So Xenology is my favorite VST, I think. I use this for basically everything. A normal person will probably use something like Contact, if you know that, but not me. I will use Xenology for everything. So yeah, this is the bass, the upright bass. So yeah, like a very simple kind of bossa nova rhythm here. So yeah, like when I was writing this song, the instruments kind of come in one by one. That's exactly how I kind of heard it in my head that one fateful morning. So I wanted this electric piano sound to come in. I think an electric piano is perfect when you want something like introductory, you know? Because an electric piano is soft enough to transition and kind of like slowly move you into the main portion, like the first verse of the song. Because when the actual piano comes in, it's a bit more stabby. This is my first time, I think, composing like a jazzy song. So I should note that I am classically trained in piano. I did go to music school and I have like a diploma. I didn't use any of my piano skills here. I mean, like this is all made by hand, you know? I'm one of those weird people who knows piano very well, but doesn't want to use it during the composing, during the arrangement process. But I never really wrote anything jazzy in my life. But I listen to a lot of bossa nova, so I do have a lot of kind of reference, I guess, stored in the back of my mind, you know? I also wanted the vocal melody to be accompanied by like something underlying. I think I'm gonna explain to you a little bit what those plugs are in the background, because they weren't really an addition straight away. At first it just sounded like this, but then I added the square lead. So basically the reason why I added these plugs is because, and this is something I didn't really discuss in any other part of my video, but essence of the song and the name of the song really collaborate with each other. So basically the song is called Digital Alice, right? There's this word digital, but the song itself, when you listen to it, there's not a lot of digitality in it. On the contrary, it's probably my most like acoustic sounding song. This is the first time I write something that sounds very natural, but the name of the song kind of clashes with that, doesn't it? So that was done on purpose. In my head, I felt like making a song about friction between yourself and what you want to be, all that kind of stuff, this friction, you know? The song is about basically just friction, I would say. That's the feeling. And I wanted the name of the song and this essence of the song also be like at odds with each other. The entirety of the song is very acoustic, but there's this one kind of like part that stays almost hidden underneath all the instruments, but it is there. And it's this like computer sounding, like almost like a binary 0 and 1s kind of like element, you know? So when you listen to the entirety of this song, you hear all those instruments, and then in the back of your mind, there's that digital part of it. So all of this is Alice, right? And this is the digital. So this part of the song is probably my favorite, actually. This is my pride and joy. I don't know how I came up with this. I'm just sitting here like, oh my god, I'm such a genius. But I just love this passage. I don't know why. I don't know how I wrote it. It just happened. It was one of those like flow state moments when I just like kept writing and writing. And I was like, oh my god, this is ideal. This is perfect. Yet again, you can hear this digital part in the background. So contrasting with the rest of the song. I feel like I'm a genius for writing this freaking synth line. I just love it so much. I think it's such a good synth lead. I just love it. Oh, genius. Who is she? She's genius. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So another instrument that I really kind of adds to the song is the accordion and the bandian, because basically, like I said before, the song is very much inspired by retro dress-up games, and if you played those games, you will probably agree with me. There's this kind of underlying vibe of like Paris fashion, you know, specifically like French fashion. Not to be like a stereotype or whatever, but like when you think of Paris, you probably think of like an accordion or a bandian or so I wanted to add those instruments into the song to give it that flair and kind of really seal the deal, because that's what it does for me. It kind of really seals the deal of like, oh yeah, it's the vibe of like sitting in the sun at a cafe drinking coffee or whatever, like wearing a really cute outfit. I'm sorry for saying this. If you're French, cover your ears, but to me this is like, oh, this is like a France in a nutshell almost. It gives that vibe, especially this kind of passage here. And I should say actually that this is another VST that I'm using, also very old. Purity, another great one if you're looking to make this kind of music. The first bridge and the second bridge, they have very different vibes. This bridge is being played during daytime, and this is nighttime bridge, you know what I mean? The contrast between song parts, I think it's very important when you compose a song. I want to make sure personally that the listener doesn't get bored. A good way to do this is like really contrast your repeating parts of the song. So, and then of course we have the break part with another sick lead by yours truly. Listen, if there's one calling card that I want people to remember me as, is sick synth solos. What I like to do is I build it up all the way here, right? After it builds up, instead of going straight into the chorus, you have this like almost break part when all that you hear is the drums. It's almost like you build up, and then you trip, and then you fall. Which, you know, makes a lot of sense because this part is about falling down the rabbit hole, right? So there is a language to the way you produce and the way you compose music. And if you use it properly, you can really build a narrative, I think. Right, so I just loaded in newer version of the tracks. This is mixed. As you can see, all the instruments are now flattened. And I do this because my computer is just not good enough to handle a bunch of MIDI tracks and also handle all the mixing plugins. It's just too much for my PC, so I'm not really gonna go too much into mixing. I'm sorry. You can look at like what plugins I use. As you can see, it's mostly EQ and compression and saturation. That's like the big three. Okay, I opened a different version of the song because I realized that was an old version. This is sorry Stacy, lost media. Between that one and this version, there was another version of the mix, which actually ended up being the mix that I used as the final product. So this is a mix that I did after and I didn't like, so I didn't use this. But the other one, the final one, is actually lost, so. The rain is going ba ba ba. This is how much is going on with the vocals processing. So the autotune I don't actually use to tune, I use this for the formants. And when I mean formants, it's just kind of the thing that makes your voice sound a tiny bit more high, like high pitched. So yeah, there's a lot of EQing going on. There's a big de-esser, and then there's some saturation going on there. And here is where 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 compressors, dude. There's 4 compressors. Why do you need 4 compressors? No. Do I want them? Yes. And of course there's Fresh Air, which is like a really good plugin for your vocals. What I actually use to tune my vocals, because I do tune them, I use Vovius, which is a pretty new plugin, I think. It's very good. It's good for like natural tuning. The one thing I do want to mention, I think, which is pretty important, is this. And this is something I do to all of my songs, really. I just like what it does. So basically, this is a pitch plugin that allows you to pitch everything microtonally. So instead of going from like 0 to 1, which is like 0 is the original pitch, 1 is like a semitone higher, right? It allows you to pitch in between 0 and 1. It sounds very interesting. So without it, it sounds like this. And with it, you know what I mean? It's like a very subtle shift. I think it adds a little bit of like strangeness to the overall song, just a tiny bit, because a human ear definitely is trained to listen to tonal music, not microtonal music. When you add just a tiny bit of that, I think in the back of your mind, you have that kind of reaction. You probably don't even notice it, but subconsciously, you might have a reaction to it. There's just some ear candy that this adds, and maybe I'm just imagining it. Oh my god, stop dying. See what I mean? Like straight away you can feel like, oh, that was weird. It's in between 0 and 1. Stop dying. This is Sir Stacy and Nightcore. You guys loving it? Anyway, that is... Thank you, Ableton. Thank you for whatever that was. And yeah, this was my music process. And the last thing I wanted to show you, the kind of post-production / editing part of the entire thing. I'm not gonna go too deep into this. I use DaVinci Resolve, no particular reason. I'm not really into like coloring or comp or anything like that. I just use it because I felt like it. I don't know what to say. So one thing that people asked me quite a lot is how I did the lyrics, right? So I actually like combined all of the lyrics that I have put here into like one small clip. But if I decompose this is how it looks like, okay? So imagine that you have to put every letter by itself like this, so it like syncs up with the lyrics as well. Now imagine doing that on every single line in the video, and that's how I did it. I don't use shortcuts, my dear friends. And then when you compile it in one clip, which is something you can do in DaVinci, which I really like, and then on that clip I put some effects, like the drop shadow, for example, I put on there, so it kind of just stands out a bit more from the background. Where I got the letters from, yet again, I got them from Tumblr. I literally just searched for alphabet PNG or letter A PNG, and I just combined a bunch of them into their own alphabets, played around with them, and I don't know, I just wanted this vibe, yet again, I mentioned this before, but I wanted this vibe of collage scrapbook, you know? As you can tell, there's one here where I was like cropping out certain things. Like if I just open this, you can see that this question sign was just cropped out of this entire sheet. And then some of them, of course, are just text. This part is freaking mental, dude, because like Alice is on a separate layer, and then the frame on top is on a separate layer, the background is also separate, and then there's the font. There's just a lot going on. I just figure stuff out as I go along. I guess there's one part that people were interested as well, this kind of breakdown part. It's not gonna load because my computer is freaking struggling to show you anything. I'm sorry, okay? You can tell there's a different layer of the background and the foreground. So there's a couple of lampposts that kind of pass Alice and the rabbit. So I got a bunch of these like royalty-free footage from like family movies that were found and uploaded on Internet Archive. And they're all from like the 60s to 70s. I rendered a new version of the run cycle like I showed you before, just the silhouettes. In some of those shots, I just changed the composition mode, so a lot of lyrics here, as you can tell. God, there's just so much. And yeah, this is my editing process. Thanks so much for enjoying Digital Alice and watching this video. I'm really honored that so many of you are interested enough in my art that I felt compelled to make a freaking Digital Alice explained video to follow it up. Of course, this is not the last project of this kind that I create, and I'm actually already working on my next music video that will come out sometime this year. And who knows, maybe I will stream the designing and modeling of the next song protagonist soon. If you want to be notified about my art and video updates, feel free to join my notification Discord channel. It's not really a server, meaning it's not for chatting, sorry, but I will regularly post updates about my next music videos, streams, animations. It's kind of like a chill mailing list where you can react to the updates with stupid emojis, I don't know. Link to join is in the description. This will also have updates from my gaming channel, where I stream and make silly game videos. So feel free to check that out if you miss me and want to see more of me more often. Since my Discord is not for chatting, I'm happy to hang out with y'all while I stream instead. And if you feel generous today, you can support me by becoming a member or a patron. Your support means the world, and I appreciate each and every one of you. So I want to thank my current supporters for making this YouTube thing a bit more possible with every new day. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.